So, today we're going to talk about something pretty amazing. It's the story of a farming business down in Kerala that took a look at this massive problem, fruit waste, and completely flipped it on its head. We're talking about turning trash, essentially, into treasure. It's all about some brilliant innovation, a bold vision, and yeah, a whole lot of tropical fruit.
And it all kicks off with this thing right here, a dragon fruit. Now, you're probably not expecting to see one of these growing in the fields of Trivandrum, right? It's pretty exotic for Kerala. But believe it or not, this one fruit became the kind of unlikely hero in a story about completely reinventing how farming is done.
So, that really brings us to the big question for today's explainer. How in the world does a single fruit redefine an entire approach to farming? How did it spark a business model that doesn't just get rid of waste, but actually creates a ton of value from it? All right, let's get into it.
So, to get to the root of this, our story actually starts outside of India. It begins with this little spark of inspiration, an idea found overseas that would eventually make its way all the way back home to Kerala. Okay, so let me introduce you to the man behind it all, Vijayan J. Now, this guy's no newcomer. He's got 13 years of experience in farming, and he had this knack for seeing potential where other people just didn't. So he's on a trip to Malaysia, and he sees farmers there successfully growing dragon fruit on a commercial scale, and a light bulb goes off. He's thinking, wait a minute, Kerala has a really similar climate. We could totally do this too. And, his vision was super clear right from the get-go. This wasn't just about, hey, let's plant a new fruit and see what happens. No, he was thinking much bigger. He wanted to build something that would bring in a steady income all year round and actually help lift up the whole local economy in Kerala. I mean, that's pretty ambitious, wouldn't you say? But let's be real for a second. This was a massive gamble. I mean, think about it. He was introducing a fruit that pretty much nobody in the local market had even heard of back then. This was some serious trailblazing stuff he was getting into. Okay, so let's walk through how this all played out. The journey kicks off back in 2013. That's when he gets inspired and starts planting. But then, by the middle of the decade, a huge roadblock pops up. A problem so big it would force him to completely rethink his entire plan.
And here's where it gets really interesting. See, growing the dragon fruit, that wasn't actually the hardest part. He was good at that. The real challenge came after the harvest. He was producing so much of this fruit that suddenly he's dealing with a mountain of it, and spoilage and waste were becoming a massive issue.
And that brings us to this key concept: post-harvest management. Basically, it's everything that happens after the crop leaves the field. This was the giant puzzle Vijayan had to solve. How do you handle, store, and process all this produce so that all your hard work doesn't literally just rot away? And spoiler alert, his solution to this problem became the absolute cornerstone of his entire business.
And this right here is where the real genius of the story shines through. Instead of looking at all that extra fruit as a problem, as a loss, Vaisakh Gardens saw it as a massive opportunity, and that shift in thinking led them to create something truly revolutionary, a zero-waste model. So they came up with this really brilliant three-step system, this integrated approach. Step 1, you start with really smart cultivation to get the best yield. Step 2, you move to super careful post-harvest handling to keep everything fresh. And then, and this is the absolute game changer, Step 3, you take anything that you can't sell fresh and you transform it into brand new, valuable products. Absolutely nothing gets wasted.
Let's look at the dragon fruit as the perfect example of how this works. So the absolute best premium grade fruits, those get sold fresh in the market for top dollar. Okay, what about the second grade ones? The ones that are good but not perfect? Well, they get preserved using some cool drying technology or put into cold storage. And then any fruit that's left over gets turned into awesome value-added products like kombucha, juices, and smoothies. See? Every single piece of fruit finds a home. It all has a purpose.
But here's the thing, they didn't just stop at dragon fruit. That would have been cool enough. No, they took this incredible, successful zero-waste idea and started applying it to all sorts of other local produce too. Just look at how this model works across the board. You've got a surplus of sweet potatoes? Boom! They turn it into gluten-free flour and cookies. The price for raw bananas suddenly drops? No problem. They turn that into flour for their best-selling Choco Brown cookies. Got some ripe jackfruit that won't sell? They make these amazing, preservative-free, chewy bites. It's just brilliant. They're literally turning market headaches into profitable new products.
And here's one of their biggest hits, their line of kombucha. It's this fantastic, healthy, probiotic-packed drink, and it's made directly from the exotic fruits they grow right there on their own farm. How cool is that?
Or check these out.
We're talking gluten-free cookies that are perfect for health-conscious folks. And the best part, they're all made from flour that, in any other system, would have probably just become food waste. I mean, that is just so incredibly smart.
And they're not just innovating with their products, they're even innovating how you experience them. This is their kombucha on tap idea. It's a really fresh, fun way for people to try their stuff and, feel more connected to the brand.
Okay, so we've seen the great ideas, but now for the million-dollar question, or I guess the crore question. Did this whole model actually pay off? Does turning waste into value actually work on the balance sheet? Well, let's take a look at the numbers.
Now, putting this whole integrated system together wasn't cheap. It took a pretty significant investment. We're talking a total of 4 crore rupees. That's about $500,000 US. So yeah, this was a serious all-in commitment to their vision.
But just look at the return on that investment. The company, VGF Fruit Plantations, now pulls in an annual turnover of over 1 crore rupees. That's more than $120,000 a year. That is some powerful, sustainable success. It's proof that this model isn't just a cool, innovative idea, it's also seriously profitable.
And it's not just about the money either. The recognition has been pouring in. Here's Vijayan J himself accepting the State Agricultural Special Mention Award back in 2021. I mean, that's a huge official nod, acknowledging the incredible, game-changing work he's done for the whole community.
And really, their whole philosophy kind of says it all. It's all about modern farming practices with a focus on backward and forward integration. Basically, that's just a fancy way of saying they control the entire process, from the seed in the ground to the final product on the shelf. And that control is the real secret sauce behind their quality, their efficiency, and their success.
When you hear a story like Vaisakh Gardens, it really makes you think. They looked at a pile of extra fruit, something most people would see as a loss, and they built an entire empire from it. So it kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What everyday food waste is all around us? What overlooked problem could be the seed for the next huge opportunity, just waiting for someone with the right vision to see it?